system of tyrants where you can vote for them to go and mass murder, we can accommodate you. But if you want to live in a world where you're independent and you have a healthy system, we can't accommodate you. That's the message. So the rebel goes, then I'm out of here. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. You see, so it's semi-healthy. You get a medal for knowing what you don't want to do. You know, as a tarot reader or as a diviner, you know, as an astrologer, I can tell you that most of my clients, and I'm sure this will be corroborated by anyone else who works in this field, I'm visited by so many people who absolutely have got to that point in their life where they do not know what it is that they do know what they don't want to do. Their problem is what it is that they have to do or should be doing, their destiny. Because there's all the difference in the world between that, you know, knowing what you don't want to do, and you get a medal for that. That's great. A lot of people never even get to that stage. But the secret of life, the magic of life, is that we often don't know what it is that we want to do, and then we make the mistake of turning to authority figures to go, they're going to tell me. The trick is that only you know what it is you want. That's the whole point. And until you create it for yourself, it's not going to be there. You can model yourself on others perhaps a little bit, you know, and browse the field. But only you can begin the process of lighting the fuse of what you need to be. Sam Peckinpah created himself. Van Gogh, Michelangelo, the whole list. You create yourself. But you know, they've put so many bread and circuses in front of us that we are gaga. We don't even know what's happening. Think for ourselves, we can't even get that far. They're doing the thinking for us, and they can hand us whatever they want. They can even create a faux conflict and say, look, we know you're unhappy. We know you're repressed. We know you hate our guts. But you know what? We'll give you a way to do something about it. We'll create a political system, a pigsty, in which you can go in there and cluck and chip at each other's, you know, like those cockerel fights. That's what you need to do. You need to go and do that. And that'll bring us down. So they create a fake game of dialectics for us, and then we exhaust all our energy in this political pigsty created by our masters, and then wonder why nothing moves a smegging inch forward. And they're laughing, they're having a field day, they're dancing on their desks going, these chumps bought into this? Yeah, well, that's right, our forefathers only lived about 25 years of age. We've got a lot of growing to do. So that, you know, the rebellion is a healthy in a way, but never forget it is merely the other side of the coin of the problem. It's saying I don't want to, you know, be part of the problem anymore. But yet, as you saw in the 1960s, and as you still see, there's not too much solution stuff happening. They've got so far to realize it's a horrific, deathly system that's going on. And I mean, the symbolism of these people is already telling you who they and what they are. Because really nothing's been hidden. Even the colors, the red and the blue, are the degrees of Freemasonry. I mean, as we know, I hope everyone in this room knows that this is a one-party creature. And I showed Michael Moore's picture earlier because, you see, he is a great exemplar, and there's plenty of them, of this faux opposition. The game is like this. If you don't create your own rival, you might have to come up against one that really does mean business. You don't want that. You don't want the real fighters. You don't want those who are going to come and try and take down your system, of which there's been a few people like that in history. So you invent and fund and pay and clothe your own guy. Case in point. Michael Moore was interviewed during the summer of 2004 and asked repeatedly by Charlie Rose what the real reasons, this is after Fahrenheit 9/11, it's all done, and you know, millions of dollars have been thrown around. What was the real reasons for Bush's alarming aggressive tactics and why so many liberties and rights were being flagrantly disregarded? Moore answered back in the same manner every time he was asked the same question, and I believe he was asked about half a dozen times. And his answer was, I don't know. Immediately, I knew that he works for them. You don't know? Excuse me, you've just thrown millions of dollars around. You've given a 70% fact because we are angry. So we'll follow this guy thinking he's got a piece of the truth. And just like they show you in The Meaning of Life, Monty Python, come with me, come. The waiter is leading, remember? And they end up nowhere. Aren't they the false gurus? Come. I'm going to show you where I live. I got a mystery I'm going to show you. Leads them through all the streets and up and down and all around. And then what? To an empty bloody field. I don't know. Well, that is not good enough. For you to be on primetime television with all of that time? Guess what? Alex Jones knows. Anthony Hilder could find out. Jordan Maxwell managed it. The people of America are managing it, but you can't find out? You have nothing to say? Meaning you know the problem, but you don't know what it is? Brilliant. I say to hell with that. It's in our face what is wrong. What is wrong is it's a one-party system. And this dialectic, we need to become very familiar with how it's worked, because behind the scenes, it's just one guy. It's like I discovered in Ireland, the Irish Republican Army. Yeah, they had to change their name to the Irish Republican Army because they were originally called the Irish Republican Brotherhood, which is a very different meaning. That's Freemasonic. I start finding out that the little dove of Sinn Féin is the dove of the Knights of Malta and the Knights of Cologne. I start finding out that the green ribbon that Sinn Féin and Jerry Adams guy wears, like it looks like the AIDS ribbon. Oh my goodness, that goes to a group called the Green Ribbon Lodge. Green Ribbon Lodge? Which is an outgrowth of the ancient order of Hibernians? What are we talking about? First it was armies and revolution, and now it's secret societies. Who's this orange on one side and the green on the other and the white in the middle? Oh, nobody talks about the white. Who are the white pure ones that control both sides of that conflict? I started to have questions. Well, you can create Judaism in opposition to Christianity by the same hand. You can, by the same hand, create Catholicism and then create its opposition, Protestantism. You can create communism and say it's opposed to capitalism. You can create Democrats and then say they're opposed to the Republicans. And I ask you this then, is the enemy really the problem? All generals know that the enemy is not your problem. The problem is the ones that are meant to be marching with you who haven't the faintest idea what's going on. Or they're fearful and undereducated about the fight. When a warrior is going to battle, if he sees fear and ambivalence in the eyes of his comrades, he knows that you're good as dead. Remember Braveheart? In this fight, that's what the problem is. It's the members of our own contingent who are out to lunch, who haven't got clear on what's happening, who are undereducated, misinformed, or fearful. Mikhail Bakunin, one of my great heroes, the father of anarchism, who rotted in Tsarist jails until his teeth rotted out, 18 years chained to a wall in pitch darkness. This is only one of the imprisonments that this man had to go through. And when he came out, within 5 minutes, he's again writing on humanity and down with these tyrants. No, all his life long, would never stop fighting autocracy. Yet, this man from his own words says, I'll take 1,000 Tsars over one Karl Marx. That's informed. Yet, isn't Karl Marx meant to be a socialist on the same side as Bakunin? We're all one. Down with the king, down with the Tsar. Bakunin says, no, down with you. I know you who you are. He said, a herd of animals organized by compulsion and force and concerned only with material interests, ignoring the spiritual side of life. At his own time, that's what he said the revolutionaries are. And of course, don't we know that the hand that crushes the tyrant's head becomes a tyrant in his stead? The enemy is not your problem. And that's a big theme. Never forget that. The enemy, in fact, you know something? The enemy that we so-called think is so awful and terrible, we've been taken out years ago. They're very weak. That's why they're called a hidden elite. Of course they're hidden. They know if we knew about them, we would destroy them in 5 minutes. When America finally wakes up, it'll be like Gulliver. You remember Gulliver was held down by all those little people? Well, when Gulliver finally wakes up, he'll be able to dust these George Bushes off their shoulders and throw them into the ocean. Because these individuals themselves are not spiritually pure and clean and cannot rise up high to feel high. So their mentality is to push and artificially repress good people so they feel great. They're not actually doing anything to spiritually progress or mature, but they are doing a lot to hold you down, and that's how they get their feeling of greatness. The petty tyrant in your neighborhood does the same thing. The bully in school does the same thing. So we've found no weapons of mass destruction. It's a myth in the mind of psychically pathological people. Al-Qaeda didn't exist. And the only time it ever even looked like it might have existed, it was funded by the same neocons from New York City. The only time any kind of Islamic extremism ever even looked like it was on the map, or jihadist motives, was when you guys were, not you guys, but the American government was funding it. Remember those old Rambo movies? There's the proof. With the Mujahideen and the extremists in the Taliban in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. When the Soviets were pulling out, remember? If you don't know this, when the Soviets were pulling out, one of the generals told America that you have a bigger problem on your hand than we. Thank you, you've destroyed us, you've won, we're leaving, but I'll just give you a case in point. We've observed something since we've been in Afghanistan. You're going to have a bigger problem down the line, 10 years from now, with these Islamic extremists. But America didn't listen because America's funding them. Now, when Bush finally gets his position as president, he's big behind the pro-Zionist evangelists that are all over the television and rising now. But wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? On paper, aren't the extreme right-wing Christian pro-Zionist evangelists meant to be the opposers of guess who? The extreme jihadist